Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the Downtown Business Association event this morning. As you know, we're excited that we have a great speaker with us today. And first of all, I want to thank our host, always, for hosting us today, and also for all our board members that are here. We encourage you to learn more about the Downtown Business Association, and we have our I call our handy dandy little pamphlets. If you'll take them and read up on us, and hopefully you'll join our organization. I'm Josie Tamaya. I am the vice president of the association. Mr. Bernie Bishop is our president, and he, of course, along with lots of other people, are still in session, hoping it'll be over in 7 days. So for purposes of economic vitality, we hope they stay longer, but for purposes of everything else, we don't. I'll just say that. So first of all, this morning we have a wonderful speaker, and it's Ms. Cristina Paredes, and she is the director of the Tallahassee-Leon County Office of Economic Vitality, and she is going to be speaking to us this morning, and we look forward to that. She's dedicated to building a strong alliances and networks within our community while working to promote and support the diverse and vibrant economy of Tallahassee-Leon County. As you know, Florida's capital for business. She is committed to advancing the regional economic and strategy of business development throughout our region. She has earned both a bachelor and a master's of public administration from Florida State University, go Noles, and earned a certificate in economic development from the University of Oklahoma Economic Development Institute. She and her husband Marco have been married for 9 years and have 2 boys. So, and they love good baseball, yay, hiking and regional greenways and camping, which is wonderful, which is one of the many things we all enjoy in Tallahassee. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Paredes, and please take your time and questions if you want to have questions throughout. But please welcome Cristina. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good morning. I'm very excited to be here today and wanted to welcome my new colleague, Drew Dietrich. Very exciting story. Drew and I met probably about 2-3 years ago in San Antonio when we both were going through the Oklahoma University Economic Development Program. We started talking. Drew said, "Oh, I'm from Tallahassee," and 3 years later, he's returned back to Tallahassee after working in Texas and Bend, Oregon, and joined our team to help us grow our community. And Drew's going to be taking the lead in some of our business outreach programs, and we're really excited to have him and his expertise here as we work together. So I just wanted to welcome him and thank him for being here today. So this morning we're just going to talk to you a little bit about what our office does and how I got involved in this work and what we hope to accomplish together to build our community. And then the springtime parade, and then we got out a little bit of St. Mark's and explored the canopy roads and the greenway system. But as I kind of grew up in my career here, there's so much more in Tallahassee that a lot of us don't even realize. The innovation, the entrepreneurship, the spirit of growth, how small businesses really do fuel our economy here in Tallahassee. And that's been really unique piece to learn as I've grown up in really Tallahassee here. Some of our rankings that we've gotten within pretty much the last year and a half have been ranked number 9 as one of the best cities in the South by Southern Living, and that's really cool. Number 1 is the best place to get started by livability. Also, livability this year in their top 100 places to live ranked Tallahassee number 54. Last year we were number 60, and I think we're one of 6 or 7 Florida cities that are included in that ranking. So I'm hoping that next year we'll break that top 50 mark as we continue to climb up there, because Tallahassee really is a great place to live, and we have a lot of things to offer here in our community. And most notably, one of my favorite statistics here is that we're in the top 25% of global innovations by the Innovation Cities program. And that's worldwide, and that's a really impressive statistic. When you take a look at the university research that comes out, both of FAMU and FSU, and the innovation and entrepreneurship that's spun just right here in the Railroad Square District, there really is a lot to offer within our community. So what is economic vitality? I get a lot of that question, and how does it differ from economic development? So for the purpose of this presentation and our talk and our office work, economic vitality fuels excitement, innovation, and growth while protecting the beauty and quality of our life. And the economic development is the natural outgrowth that fuels that sustainability. So those are the efforts those are kind of where you get those but-for efforts that Drew and I work a lot for when we're working with company expansion and recruitment efforts. So some interesting benchmark statistics that we ran last year. For the first time, we did a competitiveness report. We took a look at 11 different communities and gave them 5 different rankings across the top. These communities were either already cited in our strategic plan as being a comparable one, or they were a state capital with a similar college population. And out of that, we ranked number 1 for entrepreneurial and business environment, number 1 for business vitality, and our civic quality index was number 9. When we did this, we pulled some crime statistics here for some comparison, obviously very important. So this is pulling from 2016 crime statistics. As we all know, our communities work very diligently to improve those statistics over time. So I'm really curious on where we're going to stand the next time we update this report. Business vitality includes wage diversification, industry diversification, and GDP growth. So in that area, we were ranked number 1 in that category. And then if you have any questions, this is a nice small group, please do stop me along the way.
I'll just vouch for a second. As a local for 29 years, it's really awesome to kind of see the growth from that perspective. So it's just kind of the evolution of the city as a whole. It's really cool to kind of see that.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. I was meeting with somebody a couple of weeks ago talking about Tallahassee. They had only driven through here. And when we finished the conversation, they said, well, I always pictured Tallahassee as a sleepy government town. I had no idea of everything that you had laying underneath the surface. So just getting people to reconsider Tallahassee and rethink what we have to offer is a lot of our conversation right now as we're seeking to get on the map for a lot of these people that work with businesses who are choosing to expand. So it's a lot of our efforts are being placed in that area right now so that people can see the growth that has occurred here over the last 29 years. So this plays right nicely into our vision. The Office of Economic Vitality, we work to promote and support our diverse and vibrant economy through those conversations to help people reconsider what Tallahassee has to offer. And we trace everything back to our long-term strategic plan. This is the first economic development strategic plan that's ever been created for our community. It's rooted in 6 main categories that we trace all of our work back to. So a lot of people ask us, well, how do you know what we do on a day-to-day basis? Well, we can always tie it back to the strategic plan or our targeted industries and the recommendations that come out of that. The area within our targeted industries, and we'll get into more of this, that we're focusing most or hyper-focusing on is applied sciences and advanced manufacturing. And we'll talk a little bit why that's the case in a minute. But all the work that we do, especially when we trace back to our plan, can't be done without the help and support of our partners. This is our efforts for economic vitality efforts are all rooted in collaboration. And our office cannot do that without the help and support of many of our collaborators, from workforce to our university partners, to our local businesses, to our chambers of commerce, and business associations such as yourselves. That's really important to help our overall growth of our whole community, that collaboration. Just want to highlight here that we are growing as a community. You know, a lot of times people say that our population isn't growing as fast as other communities across Florida, and that is the case. You know, we're a little smaller. Our growth is more progressive over time. It's not as quick and rapid as some of our neighbors down to the south. But the bottom line and the most important takeaway here is that our population is growing, unlike some of our rural communities that surround us that aren't in a growth phase right now. So we're continuing to see these projections. We'll watch them through the 2020 census and mark that upbringing here too. These figures don't include anything that we may get from migration from Hurricane Michael as people move into our area too. So how many businesses do we have in Leon County? We have over 8,000 businesses here. And how does our offices work with that? And just taking those 8,000 businesses and some highlight factors on that landscape here. In the last 5 years, we've had almost a 14% growth in private sector employment. So that's just private sector. We've pulled out that public sector number. Our GDP is fueled by the private industry at 69%. And in the last year, we've incubated over 100 startups and entrepreneur ventures. This does not include students that are at the Jim Moran School of Entrepreneurship. Right now, they have about 200 students that have formed businesses or are forming businesses, and that number is only expected to grow, I think, to 500 and 700 over the next 3 to 5 years. So it's
They're smart kids too. They're smart kids.
Exactly, they really are. I had an opportunity to teach one of their classes the other day and talk to them a little bit about when they would need to work with an organization, such as an economic development organization. Very smart students. Hoping that a couple of those, because when you ask how many of you want to stay in Tallahassee, everybody raises their hand that they're getting out of here. But then by the end of the conversation, you had a couple of them that said, well, I didn't know that's what happened here in Tallahassee. And out of that same class last year, there were 10 students and 3 of them chose to stay in Tallahassee. And we're hoping to see kind of like that same percentage in this class last year, or this year right now. But so you're seeing a lot of entrepreneurial and innovation growth here in our community. This highlights the total employment. You can see again that 5-year trend of 15,000 jobs that have been added to our community. This divides out the government versus the private sector total, and you can see here in the teal all that private sector growth and kind of that government that is buoyed back and forth over the last couple of years. FSU just added 200 professors last year, so when we update these numbers, I'm going to be very interested in what that may look like too from a public sector growth opportunity. Again, highlighting our GDP growth from government versus private industry over the last 15 years here. You can see that private sector is continuing to dominate more and more of that GDP growth as our community is growing as a whole in our region. And active projects. So in one metric that we use in our office to track the work that we're doing is by how many companies that we're working with. These companies can either be here in Tallahassee or they can be outside of our community looking to expand in. And right now we have about 20 active projects. These include direct outreach that we're either currently helping a company expand, we're in the beginning of business engagement with that company as they look into our community, or we're in the process of still assisting them with some of their expansion opportunities here. So we had about, like most of them are within our manufacturing industry and applied sciences, you can see there. And most of them come via referrals. So you pick somebody up on a pedicab mic and they're talking to you about wanting to expand here in Tallahassee, and you're like, I know the person that you need to talk to.
That expanded recently.
Exactly, proof he is in, their company is in one of our numbers right there too, because we're working with them on some of their incentives that they received for their expansion opportunity. And so you put them in contact with our office. That's counted in here as a referral. These 21%, these are mostly coming from the state of Florida through Enterprise Florida on RFPs, so an opportunity to bid, to be considered and put on a company's list for expansion opportunities. And then the rest are self-generated through outreach programs.
Just how awesome it is the south side with everything going on right there, because that's really cool to see all that kind of grow on its own.
Oh, it is. Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
Okay.
Yeah. So we also have a minority women in small business program that promotes economic inclusion. This is very important to our office. A lot of economic development organizations are just beginning these conversations on how to support minority and women businesses, and this is something that we've done from the very beginning. And we have a great team that has developed industry academies to help women and minorities and small businesses build capacity, empower them, and help better equip them with the tools that they need to be successful. To date, I think we started this program, the industries last year, and we've had over 100 businesses go through them. These are really great opportunities to help people who may not know where else to get these tools. You know, they come through our office. We work very closely with the FAMU Small Business Development Center. They're an excellent resource for small business growth, and make several referrals to them to help with business planning and marketing issues as well. So we really enjoy that partnership that we have with FAMU to help support our women and minority businesses. We also do assist businesses with building resiliency. So these can be natural, man-made disasters, or even business closures. Two examples we'll give. We did a lot of outreach with Hurricane Michael and assisting the community, knowing what businesses were open post Hurricane Michael for needs. So you're talking like pharmacies, grocery stores, hardware stores, so that you get what you can to get back to normal. We assisted Benton Place when they were had that shooting in November. We did a listening session with them, heavily promoted them on Small Business Saturday in November to get people to visit these businesses and know that it's still a safe place to congregate. That was a very successful campaign. And then most recently, I'm sure you read in the paper that the Democrat has experienced some layoffs as they moved their printing operations to Panama City. Well, we came in and worked with the publisher and CareerSource on helping those employees find new opportunities. They'll be hosting a job fair in the May. So if you're really good skilled positions, really good set of employees. So if you know somebody that is looking to hire folks within those areas, reaching out to CareerSource to register for that fair would be a really good opportunity. It's about 47 individuals that'll be looking for new opportunities here this year. So these are all very important things that we do to help assist our local businesses here. But a lot of times, people don't think about that come through our office. And so what's next? I mentioned that we're focusing within applied sciences and advanced manufacturing over the next couple of years, specifically called for in our targeted industry. And you can see here, this is one of the first times you have our manufacturing plop up as on the fastest growing industries here. Last year when we ran these numbers, it was not included as one of the fastest growing industries till 2026. And when we were working with our consultants on developing our target industry, my one question for them is, well, this industry isn't as growing as fast. This was a year ago. And they said, it's going to be but for your efforts. So here we run the numbers this year and we see it pop up on that. We know that this number is being driven a lot by the Danfoss expansion, by expansion of Proof and GT Technologies. And so we hope to continue to see this grow and rise up the list over the next couple years as we continue to focus in on this targeted industry here. And that plays right real nicely into the efforts that we have with the private-public partnership around the Mag Lab. So in 1994, the Mag Lab came to Tallahassee. And 24 years later, we have named this area and this particular outreach as the magnetic capital of the world, because we have a large concentration of research and innovation, both within the private and public sector here. And we have a team of individuals that are sitting around the table talking about how to build a business cluster around this technology and research. And this is, if you haven't had an opportunity to be at the Mag Lab, this right here is one of the strongest magnets in the world. The magnet, this is just the bottom piece of it. It goes all the way up 2 stories there. It's really big and it's a great, it's really neat to see the type of research that they're doing, and they focus to more nanotechnology and towards the future as well.
Their open house is amazing.
Yes, they had over 10,000 people at their open house this year, the most they've ever had. And you see visitors coming in from all over the world. We met with a company this week actually, and this is an interesting story. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. Here's the open house here. Great opportunity to be with Danfoss and highlight what we have here in our community through with the magnetic capital of the world. This gentleman right here, he works for Danfoss. He's a Lively graduate. Went to Lively and then went to work for Danfoss. And there's several people like that within that Danfoss organization. They have about just under about 20% of their workforce is veterans, and they have TCC and Lively graduates, and they work very closely with both those programs for their workforce development needs. And here, I think I'm just gonna, there we go. I got a little bit of a video here talking about our magnetic capital of the world effort.
As we move forward in this rapidly changing world, I think one thing that we see every day is new technology emerging. And what we have in Tallahassee that's unique and special is we have all the various components that we need to do the cutting edge research, to develop new technologies, and to develop innovations. Mag Lab has been the
F7. F7 might take it up.
In the aerospace arena, we have very advanced
facilities, we have very advanced materials characterization and manufacturing capabilities. They're all,
Sorry.
so that's one of the things that makes it.
We're very excited to be building our new 44,000 square foot facility, expanding onto our current building. Plan to hire over 100 new employees here in Tallahassee.
So Tallahassee has broadened high magnetic field research from focusing mostly on physics to this much broader range of impact. And the partnership with Florida State University is a key part of the success of the Magnet Lab.
Tallahassee is the right place because we have in our community the infrastructure and the pool of talent that secure our number one position as a leader.
To help promote these efforts, we've kind of taken a two-prong approach with this. We've hired a consultant to help with our business recruitment efforts, and we've hired an individual to focus day-to-day efforts on building our applied science outreach efforts. And this kind of shows you our path towards business recruitment in here. On this week, we hosted a business right here, just beginning to engage with them. This company is on a 5 to 7 year timeline. We met them in Orlando at the Magnetic Conference, and he has a couple of issues that he would like to have researched, so he's partnering with the Mag Lab to begin some of that research. His company is in the process of building a new plant in San Marcos, Texas right now. But he knows in 5 to 7 years he needs to expand. So that's part of the reasons why he's beginning collaboration with the Mag Lab, and why we're involved, because we want him to have a positive experience, to enjoy our community, to see the benefits in our community, so when he's ready to expand in 5 to 7 years, we're top on the list. So the most interesting piece of that conversation this week was when we were talking and he told me, if we'd known about you 5 years ago, you would have been on our list when we were considering San Marcos and building that new plant. Mm-hmm. And that was remarkable to me, and just further validated the pathway that we're taking right now for these business recruitment efforts. 5 years ago isn't that long ago, and you saw in the beginning that out of these 24 years that we've had the Mag Lab here, this fall really marked the beginning of concentrating on building that business cluster up there. And what would that have meant for our community is those are only but-fors if you look backward. But we're focused in on that now. It's a hyper-focus for us, and we're continuing to work to build that pipeline. And the most important thing to remember, and that company's a really good example, that this is a long-term strategy, not something that is just 1 year and we're done. This is a long-term strategy towards building and engaging these companies to get them to choose Tallahassee and expand into our community.
How did the transition go from EDC to OAB? Was that smooth, or how did that whole?
It was a very smooth process. We picked up several other projects that they had in the pipeline at that time, and focused on building that strategic plan and that targeted industry study, some real foundational documents that we needed to launch our efforts.
But no one looks back and thinks you're still EDC. They all know you as OAB now, basically.
Yes. That's moving forward, and we collaborate very closely with all of our chambers, especially the Tallahassee Chamber. They're great partners. And we get several referrals from them as well, too, as a result of that. So it's a really good partnership there, and we appreciate working with Sue and Jay on that team. So this last piece goes to what Mike was asking a little bit about the South Side development and what we're seeing. Our office is a sister agency to planning and blueprint, and one of the best ways that we work together can be shown through our opportunity zones here. So these are 8 federally designated districts that you can create an opportunity fund and invest and defer your capital gains tax for up to 10 years. Some more ruling just came out from the IRS from that late last week, so we're still combing through that and what does that mean. But basically these are a tax shelter type of opportunity for you to invest in businesses and in property in and around these zones. So we worked with Blueprint and Planning to talk about what infrastructure projects occurred in and around these areas to help support the county and city's plans for creating and diverse jobs, catalyzing redevelopment, and promoting economic inclusion. These three goals all align again with city and county priorities as well as our strategic plan here. And we know the reason why we took this approach and building a platform to be able to show potential developers and investors what we have in these communities is because we've seen so many success in this. When we come in as a local government entity and build the infrastructure, you get this on the Gaines Street area. You got Gaines Street before and Gaines Street after. There's over $500 million in private sector investment in this area for a $30 million public project. And the same thing for Cascades here. This to build Cascades Park was about $33 million, and 5 years later you have North American Properties investing in this area for $150 million public or private investment. And then just on the other side of Appalachia you have Washington Square coming on board as well. And that's a $90 million investment, if I'm not mistaken. But I hear you're hearing from Walter Hall next week.
Yes,
Yeah.
next month, yes.
So great view from my office. It's unbelievable how quick they're building in that they're laying floors of concrete right now. It's really neat. So a future success story. South Monroe and Adams is in the zone 2. You see Proof here, the Proof expansion. And we've been approached by several developers that are interested in building and developing in this area. So we've really taken these opportunities, the opportunity to promote these zones, create an interactive map on our line. The work that we've done was highlighted at an Opportunity Zone conference in Miami a couple of weeks ago. We were one of the first communities to begin this community conversation of what can be done in the Opportunity Zones to highlight the public sector investments around here. And I just pulled out real quick, this is Opportunity Zone surrounding the downtown Tallahassee. So this, if I'm not mistaken, is Macomb right here. You see the Frenchtown area overlaid here with FSU Central District. This is FAMU Way right down here. So this is the Myers Park facility. This is the convention center piece here. And you can utilize the benefits that the CRAs have, any other incentives that you may qualify for in these areas, and overlay those with opportunity zones. There's a lot of potential for investment in these areas, and we hope to continue to highlight that so we can really maximize on this. And again, I hope that you were able to see through the presentation how economic vitality and development play hand in hand, what our office does to help contribute to this ecosystem, and how we're really focusing on growth here in our community. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions.
You touched on the economic zones and your efforts outreach with Miami. What other strategies do you have going forward in order to compete with economic zones, not just throughout Florida, but pretty much nationwide?
Yes, I'm really glad you asked that question. We're currently having that marketing strategy here. So we know that we got a really good product to sell. We know we've done a really good job of putting together that information. Now, who do we reach out to from a commercial development standpoint and an investor standpoint to continue to have a conversation about these needs? So we're in the process about what does step 2 look like for us. We're envisioning that sometime in the fall we'll have a follow-up workshop with, now that the new rules have come up, to kind of highlight again what can be done in these areas with people that may be a little bit more serious about investing. So it's an ongoing conversation that we'll continue to have. We're doing outreach to other communities as well to find out what they're doing to market to investors and to get that information in front of the right people.
What can each of us, an individual, do to support downtown businesses, the OEB strategic plan?
Most importantly, it's just letting people know that what Tallahassee has to offer, a little, and these little individual stories about what you've experienced in Tallahassee, what you've seen, how you've seen our community grow, the intentional investment that we've made in a community for growth. That's really important message to communicate. If we're all telling everybody what we have to offer here, and that we're more than that sleepy government town that site selector thought of us as, which was just kind of shocking, even, you know. But by the end of our conversation, he had a completely different view on Tallahassee, and so that's important to be able to let people know that to get people to rethink Tallahassee, to show that underneath FSU and springtime Tallahassee, there's a lot more here from innovation and entrepreneurship.
Any further? Cristina, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you again. Wonderful presentation. And I thank you all for coming. We look forward to seeing you again. Our next meeting is going to be on May 22nd, and we have Mr. Walter Hall from the Washington Square developer will be here. So thank you.